Well, hey, welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm AJ, lead pastor here at Rocky Mountain Church. This is Wes Pike, our operations director, and we're here today to share with you some exciting visionary news. If you were with us here on Sunday, you would have gotten a little card with a QR code that can take you to this video to learn about more extensively what we are calling Freed for the Future. It's a 3 to 5 year kind of visionary look at where we want to go as a church and some of the ministry objectives attached to that. Before we jump in, it's a good reminder just to think about why we exist as the church in this world and the purposes of it. And for me, as your lead pastor, I'm very passionate about the fact that we're here to expand the gospel. It's not our responsibility to build the kingdom, that's God's work, but He calls us into that as we think through being faithful in the ministries that He's given us. And so we get that opportunity. And I think we're at a point as a church where we can look 3 to 5 to 10 years out and start thinking and dreaming and planning about where we need to go. How do we be faithful with the ministries here at Rocky and the finances that God has provided for us? So Wes and I just want to walk you through in more detail what this looks like. We've talked to our membership body. We've expressed at kind of a high level this coming Sunday, kind of what the expectations are with this campaign, and we want to go deeper with it a little bit here today. And so Wes, I'm going to turn it over to you a little bit, and then we'll talk through what we're calling the ministry buckets, the 3 things that we want to accomplish over the next 5 years or so.
Awesome. Thank you, AJ. In my role as Director of Operations, one of the big things I do is I'm in charge of overseeing the stewardship of church finances. And as part of this, I want to give you a history of the finances, of where we've been as Rocky Mountain Church going back more than a decade. And I want to highlight some comparisons. There are some important years of transition for the church that I think do ring some importance for where we're at right now. So on this slide, what you're going to see is you're going to see going back all the way to fiscal year 2011, 2012. You're going to see a history of what the church has budgeted, the expectation of income to try to meet those budgeted expenses. You're going to see what was actually collected here, and then you're going to see over here, you'll see the actual differences. Some of the lines that I want to highlight for you is I want to have you look right in this area. This marked the transition from fiscal year 16-17 to 17-18, where the church moved to 4 full-time staff members. And in case you didn't know, right now the church only has 2 full-time staff members, and that is actually the least number of full-time staff members that the church has ever had. And in fact, the total number of 2 full-time and 4 part-time staff is also the least amount of paid staff that the church has ever involved. So the transition in budgeted amounts from this year to this year, along with where we're seeing revenue start to stabilize, gives you a picture that historically the church has been able to sustain a staffing of up to 4 full-time members and really be able to use that to the church's advantage to really meet the mission and the ministry objectives. Now, there's also going to be some things on here that you're going to realize. There were years of really substantial surpluses, and the church was able to use that to create a really good amount of savings for both operations and capital. And then we went through a period here where giving did not come up to expectations. And what we're seeing now, though, is a steadying in this range of revenue, where compared to the transition that we've seen into staffing and the ability for the church to be able to fully fund the ministries incorporated with that, I think we're in that area of some financial steadying in terms of budgeting and revenue, where we're really ready to start to look forward to the next steps for the future. Okay, AJ's going to move to this slide, and there's some really important things here that I want you to see. So this is the allocated picture of church finances for our fiscal year 24-25. In case you don't know, our fiscal year runs May 1 to April 30. So we're recording this video in May of 2024. We're in the first month of our fiscal year. So we have just established this budget to guide us through April 30 of 2025. And what I want to point out is the quite substantial percentage, and I think you can really see it best here as a portion of this pie chart that we pay every year to service the current mortgage on the church. Almost $91,000 is what we pay. It's about 13% of our total operating budget. And this is the area of the church budget that if we didn't have this portion of the pie, just think what we would be able to do with ministry and vision going forward.
Yeah, and I think that's important to talk about from a domino perspective. What could it look like if we were to eradicate the debt? And as Wes mentioned, that's collectively, just under $92,000 a year in budgeted monies that we have to put forth every month to facilitate the debt service. And we get that. We're so thankful for our building. We're thankful that we do have a place to meet. But I want to walk through and answer the question, what would it look like if we were freed up? Meaning we didn't have to pay a mortgage with interest attached to it. And there are a couple of initiatives I want to walk you through. And I've got 3 buckets I want you to consider. The first is this. Most of you probably don't realize that Chandra Pike, our director of kids ministry, is part-time. She has done a fabulous job with kind of leading our kids ministry and really rebuilding what we want to do with kids and youth here at Rocky. She currently oversees our Elevate ministry as well, which is our middle school and high school. Technically, that's not part of her original job description, and I would love her to be able to focus strictly on kids and family ministry in the future. She launched a new kids ministry program called Discoveryland, and it has been doing just an awesome job on Sunday mornings, as well as overseeing Kids Club on Wednesday afternoon and Elevate on Wednesday evening. So if we can start to chip away at debt reduction, we can bring Chandra up to a full-time position as the Director of Family Ministries here at Rocky Mountain Church. I think it's something that we want to shoot for, and as your lead pastor, I want to make sure we're putting the right people and right resources in the right places to continue to align with our vision and our values here at Rocky Mountain Church. There's some other things we want to tighten up and we want to take care of in regards to our staff, but I think this is a good first bucket, and a bucket that I think, quite honestly, we can accomplish in the next 5 to 6 months. I really believe we can get there. So that's bucket 1. The second bucket is, as we think about expanding and reaching to our kids and youth, I would love to hire a full-time associate pastor of Elevate and College Ministries. This pastoral position will be someone who has adequate theological training, would move towards ordination if they don't have it, and this individual would be responsible to continue to build Elevate, to kind of build a sustainable college ministry here in Estes Park, but also help me with pulpit supply. So he has to have the gift of teaching and preaching and would be in the pulpit rotation once every 5 to 6 weeks. And so if we can eradicate those monthly expenses for mortgage and debt reduction, it would free us up to be able to bring on another full-time pastoral position. As Wes mentioned, I'm full-time. Pastor Matt Larkin is full-time, and it would be great to bring on someone else that can help with pastoral responsibilities. And so that's a big part of Bucket 2. Also, and not necessarily related to staffing, is a kind of a retooling of our philosophy of missions. And one of the things that I have a heartbeat for is helping with church plants and partnering with sister churches. I would love for Rocky Mountain Church to have a partnership in our district. We're a part of the Evangelical Free Church of America, and they have districts all over the country. We're in the Rocky Mountain District, which includes just around 70 churches in our district. I would love to potentially look at partnering with a church plant where we can have great communication with and support with and build relationships with. I would love for us to have at least one partnership stateside here in our district and start looking for 3 to 4 international sister churches over the next 5 years. So that's a part of Bucket 2 that I'm really excited about. One thing that I think most of us, if you've been at Rocky maybe 3 or 4 years, or maybe even 10 years, you didn't realize, is that when we built this building, which is coming in about 20 years since we put the shovel in the ground here, there was in the original blueprint plans, opportunities for physical brick and mortar expansion to both ends of our facility. If you stand in our worship center, you would be standing in what was originally the middle of the building. We had designed initially to build out an auditorium sanctuary and some additional spacing, possibly a gym and things of that nature on kind of this side of our campus. What I'm very interested in is looking at potentially building around just under 4,800 square feet of future expansion. You'll see this is the original blueprint, which would have included a lot of brick and mortar expansion here. But on this end of our property, as you walk in upstairs here to our entrance and you look right, there's an opportunity to expand ministry space that would be designated for kids and youth, but also for a multi-purpose greeting hall space, gathering space for classes, community events, things of that nature. And I really want us to consider, as we grow kids and youth and family, and look for other ways that we can partner in the community in Estes Park, what would additional space look like to continue to grow those ministries? And I think this is a really intriguing process. I know for a fact that the idea of debt reduction isn't flashy, doesn't get you super excited, but we're not viewing debt reduction as the central part of this initiative. We're saying that if that domino could fall, right? If we could eradicate that $410,000 out of our budgeted expenses, it would free up opportunities for ministries to continue to grow or really be born as Elevate grows, as we build a college ministry, as we continue to build marriage ministries and spaces for classes and fellowship to happen where life groups could meet. These are things that I think are positive things on our horizon that we can work towards. And so there's just a few expectations that I have, goals. I've kind of walked you through them. I would love to see a seamless transition from Discovery Land, which essentially ends at 5th grade. We do have a 6th grade option, but our 6th graders are invited into Elevate. I would love a seamless transition from our grade school kids into middle school, high school, and that would involve pastoring, that would involve a strategic plan with having a pastor over Elevate, and that person would work with Chandra to come up with a good handoff there. I would love additional preaching to happen in a pastoral role. I want to continue to train up some of our elders to preach and communicate on Sunday. I think it's an important part of their calling as shepherds, as elders at Rocky, but to have someone else in a pastoral position with pulpit supply would be helpful as well. And we want to continue to disciple and grow families here at Rocky Mountain Church. Because of the nature of our town, I think starting and having a sustaining, vibrant college ministry is a big way that we, as a church, as Rocky Mountain Church, can extend a hand of fellowship while students are here working in the summer, even with our Ravencrest kids that are here, an opportunity where we can continue to invest in them. And then we need to free up some square footage space for Sunday morning trainings. We started a great marriage ministry here after the first of the year, and we're kind of running out of spaces to put people. We want to preserve the length and the longevity of our sanctuary, and so it would be great to have a few other spaces in our building where gathering can happen. And so those are just some of the ministry objectives that I have, visions for the future. Wes, would you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit more about some details and also give you a timeline that motivates this process. So I'm going to have AJ back up first to bucket 2, and we're going to take a look at the associated costs of what we would anticipate to be able to add a full-time associate pastor. So let's remember that historical perspective that I gave you. Since we moved into this building 20 years ago, Rocky Mountain Church has always had an associate pastor. This is the only time period within the church where there isn't pastoral support for our lead pastor. And so this really is a second priority for us if we had the financial resources that were freed up within our regular operating budget. And what we would target is a cost in that $75,000 to $90,000. That's an annual range. Now, AJ, back up to bucket 1, and let's add that to this cost right there. And so we're looking at an associated annual cost that's going to be somewhere likely within the $100,000 to maybe $120,000, $30,000. Remember, that's in an annual range. Okay, now I'm going to have AJ back up so I can show you that historical table of revenue. Go ahead and back up one more to here. And what I want you to see is that if we're able to look at a potential surplus of projected revenue for this current fiscal year versus our expenses, and we're able to add that to, now AJ, go to that pie chart, and we're able to add that to this portion that we currently pay annually, you can see within an operating perspective that we can already meet funding for buckets 1 and bucket 2. So when AJ talks about the debt elimination really as the first tipping point, the first domino that fills the buckets, I hope you can see just with the simple math that those numbers are actually very, very clear for us. Okay, now I want to have him move ahead to the slide that talks a little bit more about the detail of our mortgage, because this is really where I think the motivation for the timeliness of this initiative is important. You can see right now that we have an adjustable rate mortgage that's 4% annually, and this is good for us through a contracted period into November of 2025. But I'm sure you're well aware there is no way when that mortgage loan renews, we're going to get that interest rate. In fact, it is actually possible that we experience a doubling of the interest rate burden when it comes time to renew that in November of 2025. So the goal is that the loan balance that you see here in the low 400s would be taken care of with generous and sacrificial giving above and beyond the giving that comes in for our normal operating revenue. So we don't even have to consider at all entertaining a mortgage renewal that would create such an added burden of interest expense for the church. And that's, I think, why here in May of 2024, the timing of presenting this initiative to our body at Rocky is so important, because it does two things. It does give us time between now and the fall of 2025 to gather the funds and pay down that mortgage, with the anticipation that we would then have the operating funding that we would need to accomplish all the ministry objectives that we have in buckets number 1 and bucket number 2. And also, just from a giving perspective, there's the ability to take advantage of a gift in 2024 tax year, and a gift in 2025. And we might see that as we roll through these months of 2024. So it does offer our donors the ability to pray and think and reflect on a substantial gift for tax year 2024. Take advantage of your tax deduction. And then because we don't have to renew that, the goal is we never have to renew it, but we still have that rolling in to calendar year 2025 for us to continue this initiative. And through that time, it also gives us, as a pastoral staff and also as an administrative staff, the ability to consider when would we be ready to act on moving ahead in buckets 1 and buckets 2. And I can just give you just a number from just me looking at the mathematics of it. If we could reduce our current debt burden from above $400,000 to about $200,000 in outstanding principal, we could free up the monthly amount of money that we would need operationally to fund bucket 1 and bucket 2. And so there's a chance that even before the entire mortgage is gone, we're already able to act as a church in starting to fulfill some of the goals for the objectives that we've laid out.
That's great. Thank you, Wes. And so as you're hearing this, you might ask, well, if I have questions, who do I go to? If you have vision questions, come to me. I'd love to share my heart about where I think we should go as a church. If there's financial questions or investment questions, Wes is the guy to talk to about those areas. And as you pray and consider and think and ask compelling good questions, we hope that you become a key stakeholder with us in looking at what could the possibilities really be at Rocky over the next 5 to 10 years as we are about living out our vision and values. And so I'm excited. And this coming Sunday, you will get a card that has a variety of giving options, and we are looking at presenting our first financial update Sunday, June 23rd.
Yes.
And so Wes will kind of share with the congregation and via email that following week where we're at, and we're praying about that process. And as Wes mentioned, man, if we can fill bucket 1 and bucket 2, what a great start to what we want to accomplish here. So we want to thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. We are here with any questions that you may have, and we're excited to see what the Lord's going to do here at Rocky Mountain Church. God bless.